Hey, everybody.
Look
Haha, looks like we're
hey.
live. Rizal, your camera isn't quite centered.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I'm
Looks
trying
like you're on
to.
the side of your face.
Is it better now? Oh, hang on, hang on. Oops. No.
This is just, wait, well, it's a complicated issue, I'm guessing. There you go. They're good. You're good. You're good.
Is this better? Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
So
I'm
here's what
ready.
we're going to do. Let me introduce everybody who a lot of people have been watching, and I appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. And I wanted to talk a little bit about Brazil with some Brazilians because that makes sense. There's nothing worse than somebody who's not from your team trying to talk about your team, like people who live in Brazil or visited Brazil talking about Brazil. And like if I'm going to ask a question about Brazil, I'd rather
Right.
get Brazilians.
There you
So,
go.
Yeah.
and people laugh at me about this. People laugh about the question I had. Let me do this first. Derval, you've been here before. Tell
Right.
everybody who you are and how awesome you are and some of the awesome stuff you do.
Thanks, buddy. So my name is Derval, nicknamed Dury. I'm 57 years old, married, father of two kids. I'm an English teacher in Brazil since 1996. I'm a former foreign service national for the American Embassy in Brazil. I'm fluent in English. I'm also a writer, and I also have a few web pages on the Facebook regarding Black culture, both from Brazil and from other countries as well, African diaspora. And I have had the opportunity to participate in one of these exchange of ideas with my brother Wateef, and I'm here today to do my best to to collaborate with this very nice project.
Now, tell her about your book. I always want to go back to your book.
Oh, okay. So back in 2014, I wrote my first fiction book called O Último Negro, The Last Negro, and it became a hit in the Brazilian literature. And now I'm about to launch my second book, O Enigma Ashanti, The Ashanti Enigma, which is scheduled to be launched next year. I have a few articles regarding Black culture and the Black experience, both in Portuguese and in English. Some of them luckily became viral, and people reproduce and repeat and share, which makes me very happy. And this is one more experience online that I have the chance to participate, and hopefully I'll be able to contribute somehow.
I got to tell you, after looking at your picture, in your author picture, you look way scarier without your beard. Like, the beard makes you look friendly, but without the beard, it looks kind of psychopathic.
I'll take that as a compliment, my brother. Okay.
Nikki,
Hey guys. Well, my name is Domenica. That's kind of an unusual name in Brazil. So my nickname is Nikki. Everybody just calls me Nikki. And I'm an English teacher as well. I've been a teacher for 8 years. I've worked with Durval. He was once my coordinator, the one who hired me at Ebony English, a Black oriented language school. And it was my first time working with a whole Black staff, and I still work with them part time. I'm responsible for teaching a group of interns at an American company. So it's been great. Well, I actually worked for Ebony for about 5 years. Durval hired me, and there I also had the opportunity to write 3 textbooks for the school. And it's a Black oriented school. So they asked me to write English textbooks and also including Black culture, Black universal culture. So that was a huge experience for me. I've taught
is
in
that
language
textbook
schools.
is that textbook still for sale?
Well, it's exclusive, so only Ebony students can buy them. So it's only provided by the school, actually. It's part of their material, so it's not
Can
available
someone
to
hire
buy
you
it
to use that
online or
material without
anything.
breaking contract?
Well, we have a contract, so I can't even sell the books myself.
Could you teach them?
You'd have to buy.
I know
You'd have
several
to buy
people that
them
would love
through
to
the
work with you.
school. Yeah, yeah. The only way to get the books is actually through the school. But still, I mean, I'm 28 years old. When I started writing the books, I was 25. So I'm still writing the very last book, the fourth one. So it's been a challenge. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Tell us about your YouTube page.
Yeah, well, I use YouTube to share English tips, and I had this trip in March this year. I went to the States. I was in a program called an International Visitor Leadership Program, sponsored by the Department of State. And the topic of the program this year was American language and multicultural diversity. So I used my channel to share what I learned there during my trip. It was everything focused on education, learning how education works in the United States. And I know the US is not really on a big reference when it comes to education worldwide, but you guys are way ahead of us. So it was really amazing to visit schools, universities,
Hold on a second. I always
public
got to say thank
schools,
you.
private schools.
I got to say thank you to Naima Butner because she's like the most amazing cheerleader that when I forget to talk about stuff, because I'm not like a YouTuber and all that, and she's like, hey, check this guy out on LinkedIn. You know, he's on other platforms and say hello to him. I want to let her know I really appreciate that.
Hey, Mr. Butler, how are you doing?
So, Nikki, you know what? It looks like you were in the coldest part of America. I went to school for one of my degrees in Providence, Rhode Island, which is right next to Boston, which is you understand cold in a way that other Brazilians can't.
Oh, yeah, probably. Well, this year was in Boston for the first time, so it was something different, especially because I went there right after Washington, D.C. But yeah.
So here's what I was going to say, and I know that everybody is going to laugh. Is going to. Here's the reality. I'm not quite sure why this occurred to me. Why this didn't occur to me to even ask up until now. I didn't realize that when people say Latin culture in the United States, like we don't think about Brazil. So my question is, I know you two don't speak for all of Brazil, but I want to ask a really simple question. It's going to be just you can explain later. During, are Brazilians Latin?
The answer is yes and no.
Oh, whoa. Okay, watch this. Nikki.
Yes and no. That's the best answer I can come up with. And I will explain why. First of all, Portuguese is a Latin language, and we in Brazil, as you know, and everybody who's watching this video knows, we speak Portuguese. So we are a Latin educated country. That's one thing. Culturally, though, the mix that we have of ethnics in Brazil makes us a very unusual immigration country, because here, look, we have over 50% of the population being black, plus the native people who were here, even 9,000 years before that. And then when the Europeans invaded, and I will emphasize that, invaded this country, they brought to their habits and customs and culture and everything. So here in the 21st century, we are this melting pot of cultures. And one thing is for sure, because of the influence that American culture, as we know it, has over the Brazilian population, we definitely cannot call us Latin in the cultural aspect of the definition. I'll tell you why. Here in Brazil, we know that, for example, in the United States, the stereotype of Latin people is speaking Spanish, that kind of all the folklore involving Latin, uh, Mexican people, Argentinian people, because they share the same language and everything. So there's a standardized profile of Latin people, which Brazilian people don't fit in. We don't fit into that kind of profile. We have a major African influence, the way we talk, the way we dance, the way we produce music, the way we cook, the way we interact with people, the way we. So that's one of the factors. The other factors is our native people influence in the language, in the eating habits, in the culture, also in the music. So there's a major difference there. So let's think like this. Language wise, we are I cannot hear you. What if
before we go too far down that hole, I want Nikki to read something for me. First, Nikki, give me your "Are Brazilians Latin?"
Well, he covered pretty much everything, I think. I totally agree with Derval because, well, Brazilians in general won't use the word Latin or Latino to refer to themselves. Let's start there. And I think the language would be like the major difference when it comes to Latinos. Everybody expects you to speak Spanish. So Derval said that, well, everybody watching this video knows that we speak Portuguese. Everybody knows that we have over 50% of the population Black in Brazil. But the truth is that worldwide, very few people know that. I've met people from all over the world.
I love my home country. I love to be an American. I'm proud of being an American. Nobody in America knows Brazilians speak Portuguese. They all think you speak Spanish. They have no idea that Brazil is well.
That's what I'm talking about.
They have no idea. So check this out.
The misconception is there.
Something that Inframmation said to us. Read that.
Yeah, well, I think especially, please don't get me wrong, but especially about Americans in general, Americans are not really obsessed about other cultures. So it doesn't surprise me when someone just assumes that I speak Spanish because I'm from Brazil. I've gotten that several times. And I've gotten people being like shocked because I'm Brazilian and I'm Black. So I blame it on the media because media doesn't portray Brazil as Black people. It would be the brown skin, long straight hair, curvy women and all that kind of stuff. So it's back to what Derval said, the stereotype people have about Brazilians is kind of far from what people see and talk about Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and whatever. So yeah.
Right.
Well, check this out. I saw on YouTube, my friend sent me a commercial that was created by the Tourist Bureau, I believe, of Salvador. And he sent it to me and he says, Wateef, you visited Salvador. What's wrong with this video? And the picture was of people singing and dancing and eating and come to Salvador. And I was looking at the video and I stopped and I looked at it again. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. It was a commercial about Salvador. All the people in the video were white. And what got me was, can you imagine the tourist that gets off the airplane in Salvador thinking you're going to be surrounded by white Brazilians and it's just a sea of shades of brown? It's Information also said there's a greater connection among the Spanish-speaking countries of South America in terms of culture and society than between them and Brazil. That's a reasonable statement. She also said she noticed it. She lived in a house with dozens of Latin immigrant students. During parties and everyday life, they had more in common amongst themselves than the Brazilian students. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That's gotta be.
We have to keep in mind, Wateef, that Brazil is a very, very peculiar and unique country when it comes to the formation of the population. Because historically we are not a planned country.
Brazil was a planned country.
There was no planning. The Portuguese people, when they invaded here, they had no plan. They just wanted to explore the natural resources and rape the poor little Indians and bring African countries. But there was not a project, or let's make a nation out of this territory. They just wanted to explore. So what happens? They first of all, they annihilated over 70% of the native people, the native Brazilians. They brought in for over 350 years thousands and millions of Africans to work, and the Middle Passage thing, when our ancestors came here to work and everything. And but there was never a plan from Portugal to say, okay, let's make a nation out of this territory. Let's just explore the natural resources, make as much money as we can, and then. But then suddenly the country, the settlements start to stabilize, and so there is the urge to make this a country. But this urge came from within, not from Portugal. So when they saw it, oh, look at this landscape. We have the thousands and millions of black people. We pushed all the native people, to the distant territories in the rainforest whatsoever. And then the Europeans, they start to come in waves of immigration, and they started to get the privileged parts of the society. So the nation was pretty much constructed and built on the workforce and the blood and the life of native Brazilians and black people as a whole. So that explains lots of the formation of Brazil as a country, and also this distancing that we have from the other Latin countries, from Latin America per se. So it's a very complex. Brazil is not like okay, it's a civilization that started in an organized way or something like this. It was like by chance. Yeah, exactly.
So here's my question, and Nikki, this is something that you've lived abroad as well. Do you tell people that? Let me back up. When you tell people, "Hey, I'm a Brazilian woman," and they get over the initial shock, do they begin to associate you with any Latin stereotypes, or is it completely clueless? How do they reconcile that abroad?
Well, I've had different experiences. I've had African American men doubt me, saying that, wow, but you don't look Brazilian. So I think the stereotype starts there, just the way I look and my hair texture and the tone of my skin. It's just not expected.
That's weird.
I'm not just expected to look like this. Yeah.
Because in Black America, everybody got a cousin that looks like you.
I know, but the thing is, I'm from Brazil, so they don't expect me to look like this being from Brazil. So when people look at me in the United States, well, I lived in Baltimore for 6 months, so everybody's black in Baltimore. So just by looking at me, they couldn't tell I was not from there until I opened my mouth and started speaking. They would get my accent and then ask me where I'm from, but they would never guess Brazil. And then they would be, oh my God, a sister from Brazil. So that's surprising. And the stereotype about Latin women in general, I would say, well, going through immigration, there is a stereotype about young single women, period, no matter where you come from. But if you're from Latin, there is a negative stereotype about young single women, period, no matter where you come from. But if you're from a Latin country, that is even much more of a deal. Like every time I went to the United States, they would ask me a bunch of questions like how much money I'm bringing, how long I'm staying, who I'm staying with, even if it was just a connecting flight. When I wasn't even going to stay in the States, I was going to Mexico. And they would question me several things because they just assume that I'm going there to do wrong things. And by wrong things, I mean prostituting or anything like that, or getting married just to stay in the States. And we get that a lot in the United States and in Europe. So Brazilian women are also viewed like this in Europe. So yeah, it happens, unfortunately. And then I've also heard, I've dated an American, so um, telling his friends that he was dating a Brazilian, that's like, oh, lucky you, you're getting a Brazilian. So Brazilian women are still seen as loose or hot or anything like that. I've heard that from multiple African American men, on African American men married to Brazilians here, and they will just say that Brazilian women are different. We're not, well, they'll say that African American women are not submissive. They would say that angry black woman stuff, which is ridiculous. And they'll say that we're not like that. So, I mean, it's just a lot. It's just a lot to process. But I've heard multiple things. Yeah.
You know, something we're going to talk about, we can talk about another time. I'm going to show you something. Let's see.
Okay.
Let's see. There. I had a couple of conversations that touched on some of the things that you said that you, and if anybody else wants to go back and look at, it'll give some insight it'll give some serious insight into some of the things that you said. Because I've been asked the same question. Are Brazilian women different? And I'm thinking, if you are not getting the women you wanted at home, it's definitely not going to work out for you down here.
There we go.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. If you are a man that's successful in the United States, you will be successful here. But here's what I wanted to show you, and this is something that we can go into another time if you guys want to go back and revisit. I had an interesting friend named O'Shea Duke Jackson. He asked, is Brazil worth moving to for black men? I want people to check that out. And then I also want you to check out this 8-minute video, Easy Brazilian Women. And I want you to give me your thoughts on that whenever you guys get a chance to.
Sure.
Okay.
Will do.
Yeah. And that's for anybody. So hold on. We look like we got a comment. It said, what's the femininity like with the black woman in Brazil? Or are they as easy to manipulate every other westernized country with black women getting a westernized mindset? I'm trying to understand that sentence. What's the femininity like with black women in Brazil? Or are they as easy to manipulate every other westernized? I'm struggling. Okay. And I got it. To be disrespectful. I'm struggling to understand that sentence because it's not well written and there's no punctuation or grammar. Everybody knows, anybody who comes to my channel, we're not here to pick fights or make fun of each other, but that sentence is hard to read. So I need you to rewrite it better for us to be able to dissect it. If that's okay. Yeah. So we'll come back to that. How about that? We'll come back when he gives us that a little bit more, a little easier to read.
Okay.
Okay.
You know, one of the most interesting things I will tell people, because sometimes it's racism and sometimes it's not. Going into the United States, I don't care where you're from. I have friends from all over the world, from every place in Europe to South America to South Africa. Everybody gets grilled that hard coming into the United States. Everybody is assumed something bad. That's one of the very few things I can say. That might not have been a you're black moment. That might have been you're going into a country where, for political reasons, everyone's a suspect, including the people who live there. So that's something that we can take that apart later. Maybe we can deconstruct that in a different conversation. Does that make sense to you?
It does, yeah. It does.
I'm gonna say kind of, but it's okay.
No, go ahead. Well, you said kind of. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just about the questions they ask. Like, they keep on asking those same questions, like, who are you with? Like, I'm not supposed to be traveling on my own. And that gets me a lot. Like, I don't think men would get that question. But anyway, I kind of agree with you. I agree with you at a certain extent, but not 100%. But it's okay. Maybe we can talk about it later.
Yeah, like I said, I have friends from, I've lived in 15 countries across 5 continents. I have friends from all over the world, and everyone believes it's just them. Everyone believes it's just them. And the unfortunate reality is everybody's getting grilled. Everybody's getting grilled. But at the same time, Go ahead.
Can I say something based on my experience in the U.S.?
Mm.
I don't know. It's just out of coincidence or settings of the place or the environment surrounding me, but I felt way much more comfortable in the South than in the North. Believe it or not. I mean, among Black people, that's important to emphasize. Okay, I felt more comfortable among the Southern Black people than with the Northern Black people. I don't know the reason. Maybe I got lucky. I don't know. But for example, I spent a period in Gulfport, New Orleans, Louisiana as well, and some other places down south. Then I spent about 2 months in North in Maryland and Oxon Hill and Washington D.C. And I could feel the difference between the mindset of the northern Black African American mindset of the southern African American. What do you feel? Would you elaborate that in regards to the subject of
I
this?
was born as far north as possible as you can go. Niagara Falls, New York, actually is on the border with Canada. I
Buffalo?
can't think of any adult experience south of the Mason-Dixon, and in the United States, the Mason-Dixon line is what separates north from south. I have no feedback for you.
Okay.
But our new friend. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Finish.
No, I was just gonna say that I've had different experiences in different places as well, Serval. But my worst experience was actually in Miami with 2 Black officers. Like, to the point I was crying. I was desperate that I was gonna be deported because they actually made me wait for 2 hours. Yeah, that was my worst experience. I've had
At the
that
airport?
experience in Houston as well. At the airport, Miami Airport. Yeah.
Hey, wait.
Houston.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised.
Read that, Duval.
Oh yes, I'm from Texas. My father's from Louisiana. It's our custom to welcome people, offer them food and community. Is that
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. It doesn't get much more southern than Louisiana.
Okay.
I didn't have any trouble in New Orleans either, I gotta admit. However, in Houston, I was at several
If I had my
times.
way, I would choose to live in the South instead of living in North. Believe it or not.
Let's do this.
To be quite honest,
we promised that we would go back to this. Snuggle 668. One at a time. Maybe we. How about Nikki? Do you want to try that? What are the Black Brazilians like, or are they as easily manipulated as the Black women, that have allowed themselves to be westernized, meaning the mindset? This is a really hard, because the way it's written, it could mean like 4 different things.
I think I got the meaning.
Nikki, you want to jump in on that?
Jesus. If we're easily manipulated, well, I don't want to say that, no. Well, actually, we're known for being a little, how can I say, controlling, maybe. I'm just describing how we're seen. So in this country, people will say that it's actually easier to be in a relationship with a white woman because a Black woman will not just settle for anything you say. So no, we're not easily manipulated. However, I've read from this, it was like this immigration lawyer saying that Brazilian women will marry American guys. And the thing is, American guys will probably be able to provide more than we would be able to get in our country. And American guys will feel like because of that, we'll be more submissive. So maybe internationally that changes, but in Brazil, that's not how we're seen.
Duval?
Yeah. Oh, my take on this is absolutely aligned with what Nikki said, because that's as a Brazilian, I can tell you that what she says is absolutely correct.
Well, for
Okay.
my answer, and I'm probably the least politically correct person you're going to meet for a while. For me, having been loved and loved by women in different places, I can tell you I have a fairly ruthless disposition on the way I conduct relationships, and I don't find Brazilian women any more or less difficult to deal with anyone else. But that comes because I was taught as a young man and really brought into my life, I'm the man that I am, and I choose to demonstrate myself as a man who can ask for loyalty and obedience from a woman through my behaviors and who I am. You know, the pillars of manhood that I was taught eliminate a lot of the problems that I find other men deal with. You know, I was taught the fact that I chose education, financial stability, and physical competency meant I wasn't going to deal with 90% of the problems that other men do, because I made myself one of the men that women look at and say, I have no problem not arguing with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't really, it translates. But let's go to Sister Jer Harla. And Jer, tell me if I'm mispronouncing your name. What's the Black community like in Brazil? Do the Black expats live in a certain area, or are the communities hodgepodge? I'm going to go with answer B for the win. Being a Black expat in Brazil is interesting.
Wow.
Because here you occupy a very interesting space. First, I was told, I've been here many years, and my friends tell me I still couldn't fake being a Brazilian man because of the way that I walk. But having said that, I choose to live in a regular Brazilian neighborhood around regular Brazilian people. I think I'm the only foreigner in my building because I live in a neighborhood. A lot of my friends say, why don't you come and live in, you know, this big fancy neighborhood? But they don't know their neighbors. And the story I always tell people, the reason I live in a regular ass neighborhood with regular ass people is because I have a friend who came to visit me from Las Vegas. I ran a financial practice in Las Vegas, Nevada before I came here. And he lost his wallet in a restaurant 3 blocks this way. And he was upset. And then the next morning, I get a call from my doorman, the portero. Hey, come down here. Turns out the lady in the restaurant picks up the wallet, says, hey, this is the wallet that was with the friend of the big gringo Black guy. And they gave it to a local taxi driver who brought it 3 blocks up, who then gave it to my front doorman and gave it to me. I'm not telling you that happens all over Brazil. I'm not telling you that happens, you know, to everyone in my neighborhood, but I'm telling you the benefit of living in a neighborhood where the lady who pours my coffee across the street doesn't have to ask me what I want. The guy who I get my Marmitex from, you know, for lunch doesn't, you know, he knows I'm going to fight him because I want more chicken. We go through the same thing every day, but they know me and I know them. So I live in a regular neighborhood. So, Jared, if you come to Brazil, and I hope you do, I'll encourage you to live in just a regular place like me. And for context, I live in a place called Bexiga. Nikki, do you know Bexiga?
Yeah.
What would you say about that neighborhood?
Well, I don't know much about it, but it's downtown Sao Paulo. I've never lived in that area. I've never really lived in Sao Paulo City. I am in the suburbs. I'm like 40 minutes away. So I don't know. Honestly, what kind of people do you see around there, to be honest?
Yeah. A whole bunch of Italians.
I know. Well, I know they have a lot of live music there. Like people go there to have fun a lot. Yeah, I've been to a theater in that area, but
as a matter of fact, tomorrow I run a group called Black Expats in Brazil. Both of you are invited. We're going to go listen to some jazz on the stairs in Bexiga tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about.
You know, you free for work?
You know what? Can you say that over?
I will.
You broke up.
Yeah,
I said tomorrow afternoon, we're going here in Bexiga to a staircase to listen to jazz. Sometime between 12, we're going to get together for lunch and then head over there at about 1:30 or 2. Both of you are invited.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So let's move on down. We got a couple of comments. Let's see. She said you got me with the live music. Oh, Nicole Cooper. Sister Nicole, she always brings some clever insight to the conversation. She said, hey, Yusef, I'm late to the show. Off the top of my head, I feel like Brazilian to Latino is like Cubans to Puerto Ricans, Dominicans or Caribbeans to West Indians. Huh. That's insightful.
Well, where did you get that comparison from? That kind of analogy.
Tell them where you got that from. Leave us in the comments, Nicole, where you got that comparison from. Because I've never lived in any of those countries, but I'd like to know where you get. Okay, let's see. When people think Latino, they usually think of Spanish-speaking nations. When people think of the Caribbean, they think like English and maybe French.
Okay, all right. That goes back to kind of to what we said in the opening statements, both Nikki and I. See, when people think of Latino, they usually think of Spanish-speaking nations, not Brazil.
Yeah.
Like I said, Brazil is a melting pot. And not Latin per definition, you know.
How you doing, Casper? Thank you for joining. Oh, you know what? And I have to always remember to tell people this. I appreciate everybody watching, but the most important things you can do is click subscribe and click the thumbs up and share this somewhere. Share this on your Facebook or on your Twitter, because that's how I get to meet new interesting people. And I want everybody to take time to click the thumbs up and to click the subscribe if you haven't already. You guys know I talk about a lot of things, not just Brazil. I also talk about Bitcoin. I have a lot of big, grand scale conversations, and I hope Nikki and Deval can both come back for some more of them. Let's see. I share that notion here in Rotan. Here in Rotan, they speak Spanish, English, and a native dialect. Let me see Rotan. I don't know Rotan.
Me either.
I'm gonna have to go to Almighty. Let me hold on. Yeah, I'm googling. I'm googling this because Islas Honduras. Rotan, Honduras. So, and I want you to let us know if this is an accurate representation of where you are. Is that a fairly accurate? Wow. Well.
Wow.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the way you're living. If that's the way you're living, it must. Make it burn. Make it burn.
Yeah. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Let me send a quick message. Let's. So I'll say this. Miss Buckner, awesome cheerleader, check your private messages. And she said, don't act like that. Well, listen, when you get to Brazil, we've got some places in Brazil that will absolutely rival, the greatest. Interesting, because when I look up Brazil on Google and what ethnicity it falls under, I see they try to classify as white, which I find very perplexing. Yes, Casper, we find it perplexing too. Where are you from, Casper? Are you here in Brazil? Are you in the United States? Are you in another country? How'd you find my humble stream here on YouTube? But yeah, it's one of those things where I never understood how a country could get away with marketing itself as white when the stunning majority of people are black. And people must get on the airplane and think, wow, oh, he's in Jersey. Wow, I was born in New York. You're in Jersey. Yo, you know what cold is. You know what. Oh, okay. O'Shea Duke Jackson is how you found me. Love O'Shea. But yeah, if you're in Jersey, you know what cold is on a hard level. Deval, have you ever been in the United States cold?
Yeah, I was in Las Vegas once. I don't know if you can consider that cold, but it was winter time. And
no, it wasn't. I lived in Las Vegas for 10 years. It wasn't cold.
Okay, so forget about that.
All right, Derek. We're gonna trade phone numbers and WhatsApp information so you can catch up with me, and we're definitely gonna talk about getting you down here to Brazil. And let me see. Yeah, he said Las Vegas winter. But here's the thing: if you're a Brazilian and you go to Las Vegas when it's cold, you might be offended. You might be clutching your pearls.
Yep.
Hey, let's do this. Hey, Nikki, can you read that for me? Because I think she wrote that to Casper.
Casper. Power is constant. Well, I'm on my cell phone, so it's really small.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Will you read that for me?
Yeah, for Casper, power is concentrated on white hands as always, but when you walk the streets, depending on where you go, the majority will be black. Okay, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just about a matter of power control. Power control. You know, on the top of the Brazilian social pyramid, you see the white folks, Christian. Is a WASP nation. White Anglo, white Portuguese, and Protestant nowadays. You know, not even Catholic anymore, and they got the power, political power, economical power, military power, social power, intellectual power, and everything.
So here's my other question then. Do Black Brazilians get to in any way shape or identify whether or not they are considered Latino? Because I'll tell you what Latin music was. My first introduction to Latin music was through my dad, who loved jazz.
Okay.
And we kind of, how would I put this? We had to have, as I became an adult, older teenager even, we had a friendly disagreement because I definitely veered towards Latin jazz. The percussion of Latin jazz, for me, that's what did it for me. That's what hooked me. And yeah, it was one of those. Oh, Jer said in that respect, it's like the States as far as the way power is distributed. I think so. But do Black Brazilians identify themselves as Latino differently, or or is it something that? Excuse me, I'm getting over a cold. Hold on.
Oh man, wish you well.
Or do they? Is it something that just doesn't come up?
Nika,
I'd say it doesn't come up. Yeah, I'd say it doesn't come up, to be honest. I know geography is taught differently around the world. To be honest, I think Brazilians focus more like on South America and not Latin America. So it's very common for Brazilians to describe themselves as South Americans.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't like, nobody would say that samba is a Latin music,
Yep.
So I don't think that comes up.
Yep, I agree with Nikki. Yeah, I would like to give my take on this one. I feel uncomfortable, and I try not to identify myself as a Latin Black individual. I feel more comfortable to identify myself either like an Afro-Brazilian or South American, like Nikki put, a Black individual than a Black Latin individual human being. I don't have this connection with Latin as we know it. I feel myself way distant from this kind of perception and description of myself.
Wow.
Yeah. And I'm being honest, I'm telling you just like it is,
No, you know what? That's a fair. I mean, that's how you identify. There's no one to tell you you can't.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing. It's who are we to say who you should be? And in this world we live in, where everyone can pretty much decide who they want to be based on whatever they feel like, go for it. I say go for it. That's my thing.
Mm-hmm. And there's another element to this one is like this. It's kind of philosophical, but I'll put it anyway. I would feel that I would be betraying my ancestry and my roots and my background if I identify myself as Latin to my African ancestry. You know, so I always stick to my real ancestor, which is African and not Latin.
Okay.
If you know what
Check
I mean.
out what Casper said. He said to at Infranmation, I noticed when I visited Niterói, Brazil, plenty of beautiful black people, but they always seem to push the image in the media entertainment is heavily influenced by European. And she said, yeah, not much connection between the history of samba and other Latin rhythms. But then now here's the interesting one. Check this out, Jer. Jer said, "Wait, samba is not considered Latin, and why? If and I don't think either one of your expert samba people. I don't know. Maybe Nikki, you are, and I just don't know it. But is that true?"
Nikki,
Yeah,
I
it
have the
is
answer, but
true. I mean,
ladies
I'm
first.
no expert. I'm no expert. But like I said, we have no connection with the word Latin whatsoever. Nobody in
Mhm.
Brazil would describe anything as Latin something. Like it's just Brazilian. And the reason why I used the South America was just to explain that we, even though Brazil is part of Latin America, South America, we don't focus on Latin America that much. And some people will just be confused. They even say, "Oh, you are Latino." They're gonna be like, "No, I'm Brazilian." Okay,
Mhm.
Brazil is part
Mhm.
of Latin America, so
Mhm.
that's why I also focus on the geography thing, because some people are not even aware of where they are. Like they don't even know where they're located. It's sad, but it's true. So yeah, I don't think anybody would ever associate samba with Latin. If you're gonna say Latin music, salsa, reggaeton. That's what people think of
Rumba.
here. So yeah, exactly.
Ooh, yes. Cha cha cha.
Am I saying anything weird, Durval? Because
No,
I'm
absolutely
really
not.
speaking my
And so,
mind
you know,
here.
on the top of that, I would say that, you know, just for the records, samba, the word samba comes from the Angolan word samba, which is an Angolan African rhythm that came to Brazil with a, you know, with our ancestors, and they brought this, and here it got some kind of adaptation as a drum beats and stuff like that. But the original word is samba with an e, like SEMBA, which is an African word. So, and then here, both in El Salvador and Rio de Janeiro, got some adaptations in the rhythm and became samba.
Mm.
Okay? Yeah, exactly. The original word is samba with an A. I'm sorry, with an E, not with an A.
Maybe
Hmm.
Fogo and Ashe, maybe Latin music, as they have more European influences, but not samba and pagode. Hmm.
Well, what was that again?
Read what Infranmation said.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, maybe for
But
Hall and in a share, maybe Latin as influences. That is not a correct information. No,
not
that's not
even those, right?
exactly.
I mean,
So,
like I, sorry, go ahead.
no, no, ladies first, go.
No, seriously, I'm no expert, but maybe if we go and check, it, even if it mentions something related to Latin music, it got lost through the years because nobody talks about that nowadays. So that's I'm saying what's like what people will say here. Anybody who asks about Brazilian music, it won't be I'm trying hard here to associate any of our kinds of music, and
Hmm.
I can't really think of anything, honestly.
Nope, nope. And you won't get any because that's what it is. You know, and if you look geographically, if you look at the map of Brazil, we are more so way more associated with Africa, you know, in terms of proximity and regionality and the Middle Passage and everything. So it's kind of obvious to think that African music has a huge, major influence over the Brazilian
Yeah.
way of, you know, musical and all other kind of traditions. As for Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, Peru, Bolivia, and so forth and so on, and consider that they were colonized, I mean, invaded by Spain, it's only natural to think that they will have this major influence of Spanish influence and formation and insertion of Spanish values and culture and music and folklore and whatsoever over their culture in distinction to what happened to Brazil. And you have to keep in mind that not many Latin American countries had as much influence of African culture as we do in Brazil. The majority of the Middle Passage from Africa to this side of the planet happened in the Brazilian East Coast. So, it's only natural that we have this major influence of African in our music and cultural expressions, I would say.
Nati Bala asked me a question, and for both of you, I sent you a private message here. Nati Bala asked me a question. She said, are Africans from Equatorial Guinea, they were colonized and the official language is Spanish, are they Latinos? I'm not qualified to answer that question.
As far as I know, because you have Equatorial Guinea and have a Suriname. I think no, Suriname was colonized by the Dutch. Yeah, the Dutch people. The Dutch they took over the place a few centuries ago. And Equatorial, I'm not sure about that. It's a very interesting question. I'm going to check it out, and I promise I'll get back to you.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about this in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Casper said he dated a woman who worked for the municipal civil guard in Rio, who lived in Niterói. She was of Indian and African heritage, but identified as Latino. She also mainly dated older white men before me. Now, when you say Indian, do you mean indigenous to the continent of South America, or do you mean Indian like Delhi? Or looks like we lost somebody.
I'm here. And Nick is gone.
She'll be back. She'll be back.
She'll be back.
And dated older white men before me. Well, who you want to date is who you want to date. It's just interesting that, let's see, she's Indian and African, but Latino. That's that. Hey, you're back.
Sorry, I get disconnected. Sorry about that.
Nick, you survived?
Yeah, I got disconnected. I'm back on Facebook to share the post, and then I got disconnected. Sorry about that.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
And she drove me crazy how she identified herself and who she related to. That is something that we'll have to have another discussion on. Who you identify as is it's a wild thing here that I'm still trying to, after years of living here, I'm still trying to figure out the identification game here of not what I believe somebody else says, it's who people identify themselves as, but that's not something we're going to go into right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just geographical and linguistic differences to why they separate. It makes sense. I get it. And I think I saw that. Let's see. Oh, okay. He cleared that up for us.
Okay.
So she was a native to Brazil.
I gotta get this one.
Okay, mute yourself. Just mute yourself. We don't need to hear your business. Click the mute button.
I'll be right back.
And it's not like he can drop his phone and glasses. He has no idea. Look, he's just running around. That's hilarious. I'm gonna mute this all because I don't want everybody on YouTube listening to this private conversation.
Right. Okay.
Oh, she told you that you weren't black.
Oh. I missed that. Where's she from?
Okay, hold on. We gotta go back. Okay, here's Casper. He said he dated a woman who worked for the municipal civil guard in Rio, who lived in Niterói. She was of Indian and African heritage.
Okay.
She also mainly dated older white men before me, right? And then she told him he wasn't black. Who gets to tell people?
Okay.
It's an awkward thing. That's
classic here.
The context that I have.
Classic here.
Context here. You know,
Okay, what if, can I ask you a question?
How you doing, Omega Dreads? Go ahead.
Can I
Go
ask
ahead.
you a question? Okay, the question is, you as an African American,
I've always been a
what?
Black American.
Okay, you as a Black American, what perception have you had when it comes to the definition of Latino or Latin people? Did you include Brazilian people on that view, on that vision?
Oh no. Until I got here, I mean, I had to really sit back and look at a map and go, how come this doesn't feel like a Latin country? And the people here have none of the behavior of my Latin friends who are from stereotypical Latin countries.
Hmm.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm. That is interesting.
Um, may I just go back to that other question? Not
Which one?
question, but comment about the girl who said the guy wasn't black or not black enough.
For the record, Casper wants everybody to know he is definitely Black.
Okay. I just want to say that's very, very common here. Um, Somebody said that people try to portray Brazil as a white country. The truth is that there are a lot of Afro Brazilians that don't even know they're black, and I don't want to sound rude, but they don't really know anything about their roots and their history. So this country opened the doors for European countries in an attempt to whiten up the population. And we still suffer the consequence of that. So I've heard from family members that I should actually be with a white guy to whiten up the family. So we still hear that. So a lot of people, like my complexion, will say that they're brunette. In my country, people use the word brunette as a race, as a skin
Mm-hmm.
color, instead of just being about your hair color, as
Mm-hmm.
probably the rest of the world. So what I've gotten is that, like you said, Yusef, I've always been a Black American. But here, it's not like you're taught from the moment you're born, you're Black. I have never heard
Mm-hmm.
from my parents that I'm Black until I started getting involved with other Black people involved in the movement.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know. And the other thing is, we don't use the word Black. The word preto here, for a lot of people, including Black people, will be considered offensive.
Yeah.
So the moment I say, eu sou negra, I'm Black, people are like, oh no, don't say that. You're not. It's like I'm actually being offensive to myself. So it's just crazy. And
Right.
just one more thing I wanted to say. I've read about the one drop rule, and I've
Tell the
also
people who
read
don't
about
know.
term. Okay, and I've also heard the term octoroon and all that kind of stuff. We don't have that here. It's not
Right.
like just because your dad is Black, you're Black. No, it's really about the tone of your skin. And a lot of
Yes.
people in this country think they're white. We've just had an amazing movie out. It's called, do you remember it, Derval? Brazilian movie. Oh my God. Oh
How
my God.
how
It
It's
hasn't
in
been that
Pernambuco.
good if you don't remember.
It's brand new. It's amazing. No, it's amazing. I'm trying to remember because it's a really different name. It it happens in Pernambuco. Oh my God.
Oh yes, yes. Yeah, it's. I think it's an Indian name.
It's
Yeah,
not a usual name.
yeah,
But
yeah,
anyway, I'm
yeah.
gonna remember and I'm gonna
Mhm.
type it. It's amazing because the cast is half Brazilian, half American, and there's a German guy. And they say that like they have this group of foreigners here trying to take over a city in the northeast of Brazil, and they
Mhm.
hire two Brazilians from the south of our country. And for those who know or don't, the south of Brazil is white. So it's like a lot of European colonies down there. So they get these two white couple from the south because they identify themselves as white. And then the Americans and the German guys start making fun of them, saying, no, not really. You're not white. And saying this in Brazil is like
Yeah.
slapping them in their face because
Well,
they're
I'll tell
actually
you something.
100% they're white. So
Get
yeah,
this.
people are
I
just
have
not aware
clients.
of it.
I have clients, and you know what, Nikki, before we hang up on this conversation, I'm going to talk to you about a few things that we may have in common. I have clients
Mm,
here in Brazil who work with me on some business things that they need done in English. They speak English semi-good, you know, and I focus on that with them, but I do a lot of translations and things for them. And they moved to the United States, and they literally call me in a panic. They didn't know that they were not white. They went to America, and for the first time in their life, were told, no, you're not white. Because in Brazil, they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And they went to America, and they were like, well, yeah, you're South American, right, or Brazilian, but you're not white. And they're like, yes, we are. And they're like, no, you're not. And it's oh my goodness.
And I just remembered the name of the movie.
Oh, what was it? Yeah.
I don't think we can type it here just like everybody else. Can we?
What's the name?
It's called Bacurau.
Yeah.
Bacurau. Bacurau.
Information was ahead of the game.
Oh, see? Thank you. Bacurau. Right there. It's a must-see. It's a must-see.
Yes,
it's a really good movie.
Yeah. All the reviews say, in fact, it's running for some kind of a top prize in the cinema industry, and that's it.
Yeah, it's won something already. I think it was in Cannes.
Yeah, in France. Yes, exactly.
A prize already. Yeah.
Well,
it's a great, it's a great movie. Yeah. Yeah. You'll probably find it because it's famous worldwide, even though it's just been released.
Yeah, it's a brand new movie.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. So here's another question that popped up earlier. Let me go find that. Check that out, Duval.
Census-wise, would they identify as Hispanic, white, or non-white? Do they have a census there that categorized by race? Yeah, we do. We do have the national census. The most recent one was released in 2010, I guess. And the last figure showed that black people in Brazil comprise over 51%, I would say, of the overall population. You have to keep in mind that they put together the offsprings of black and white plus the black people, who identify themselves as black. So if you put them together, these two populations together, these demographics together, you come up with over 50% of the population. So, needless to say, Brazil is a black country. That's the bottom line. Even though the official propaganda doesn't show like that, it doesn't portray like that, But
they use the term brown, right? They use like black or brown here, just like the paper bag.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think we overlooked something that Sister Jer said. Check that out. She said, I think we look for these identifiers because in the States your race is tied to opportunity and oppression.
Let me see.
Same here.
Casper, I'm mixed with black, Portuguese, Mexican, and Native. You got everything. Here in South America, I'm definitely black, but in Brazil, I was told by my ex to identify as mestizo or other, that I'm not black.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, who is she to tell you can't be black? That's
exactly. Yeah.
But guess what? It goes back to. Sorry.
Go ahead, Nikki. My bad.
No, it's okay. It just goes back to what the other lady said about opportunity and oppression. Like the lighter you are, you're more inclined to have better opportunities. Like I'm definitely a black woman, but I understand that I don't go through the same things that women who are dark skinned go through. And in fact, I just went through a terrible thing today with an Uber driver, and it got me like really crazy because it had never happened to me. So of course I've suffered racism, but not directly, like in my face. It was always between the lines. But today it actually happened for real, and it was the first time. So,
Wow.
um,
How
yeah.
did you take it? How did you take it?
Well, I didn't know what to do, actually. He canceled the ride right in front of me once I got to the car. And then he asked me if I was going to a slum.
Whoa.
So, yeah. And then I said, no, but thanks, I'll get another driver. But I
Did
was
you
just,
report him on the app?
I did. And I made a public post on Facebook as well
Good.
with a
I'd post
picture with my
the license
report.
plate number. I would take him.
Is there any customer service support where you can,
Yes.
you know,
Well,
file?
I reported him on the section that says I didn't feel safe with my driver. So that's how I reported him. And then I wrote exactly what happened. And then I tagged Uber on Facebook as well. And I made it
Good girl.
public so everybody
Good girl.
could
Well
see it.
done. Well done.
Well
But
done.
at
And
the
next time, make sure you
when it
screenshot.
happened, but honestly, when it happened, I was just I froze and I didn't know what to do. And I was coming back home from a class, so I just walked back home because I just didn't feel like getting another ride. So that's how shocked I was. So yeah, I get it. Like we do have lighter skin and dark skin, light skin, and it also happens in the media. Like light skinned Black women will get more roles on soap operas and whatever, and it's so
Yeah,
hard
like America.
for dark women get, opportunities and even job opportunities. And your hair also says a lot. So, and even I would go even beyond like religions, like African religions. If you have anything that shows that you belong to an African religion, it will be even harder. So yeah, the same thing happens here. So why do you think that I've heard you should marry a white guy? So you widen up the family so that your offspring won't suffer,
Well,
won't
hold
go
on.
through the
Check
same
this
things
out.
your grandparents did.
I want both of you to read this. There are two comments. One, I want you to read that.
Oh, I had this on the cam. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like the
It's a
black woman
famous.
who is
Yeah. Okay. Can you?
granddaughter was born white. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Again, it's tiny, but I could see that.
So,
Yes.
Nikki, she said she wanted to know if you'd seen it and what are your feelings about it.
Well, first of all,
Um.
well, go ahead, Nikki. Go ahead.
No. It's
No.
your turn.
Okay.
Please.
So I have this on the cam shows portrays the typical old century family where we have this Portuguese guy, and you can see pretty much that they're from a very simple family, where you have an elderly black woman, and then you see the white guy sitting in front of the house, and then you see his wife, who is a black woman, and then you can pretty much see that the baby, the offspring of the couple, has a lighter skin, and there you go. You see that the old woman is thanking whoever she believes that her daughter found herself a white man to enlighten the skin of her offspring, because chances are that that baby will have a better chance to go up or the social ladder for having a lighter skin. And this happened throughout Brazil for over 250 years.
Yeah, the
Well,
encouragement of Black people and white people to have as many children as they could to lighten
mhm.
up the race, which is an interesting way to express racism, but okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to do as I bring this all back in. I want to, Nikki, you and I haven't had a lot of opportunity together, so I'm going to send you my number, but I want to show you something. And as a matter of fact, I want to show everybody this because I do this all the time. I am an editor, copywriter, proofreader. People bring me everything from books and magazines that might be in Portuguese or maybe even in English when they need it presented in professional English, when they need it edited. I work with some people on their public speaking in English. I'd like to talk to you about your book, the writing process, whether or not you're going to do another one since you can't talk about the other stuff you did. And this also directly relates to you as well, Derval. And I don't know if you've linked with me, because I want anybody watching to feel free to link with me on LinkedIn to see who I am professionally, because this is what I do. YouTube is fun and I love it. And I love people who drop stuff in my Bitcoin and my PayPal, but this is how I earn my living. And I always tell people, when you go in, don't just look at my resume. As a matter of fact, you can look at my resume second. I tell everybody to scroll to the bottom, and I want everybody to look at my recommendations. I want everybody to look at the things that other professionals have said about me, and then decide if I'm someone that you want to do business with, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I can officialize a proposal to you, my friend.
Okay.
I have been trying to edit and publish my fiction for the African American audience, and right now to the world, I'll let you know that we'll definitely hook up, because I really want you to show me the best way we can do that. What about that?
So we're going to talk about that later. Let's
Mm-hmm.
do this. Excuse me. I got to say goodbye. Let's see. Thanks for that. I wasn't sure. It's been a few years, but I remember hearing this among brothers. Yeah. So I got to say goodbye. Derval, how do you want to say goodbye? We're going to let her have the last word.
Okay. Look, again, it has been a great pleasure to have had the opportunity to participate in such a enlightening and a very nice and brilliant and wise kind of conversation. Sharing the screen with you two guys, Nikki, whom I know for a long time, and you, Yusef, also, my newly, um, my newly main man, and definitely we're going to do some business together. As a matter of fact, I'm writing my third book right now, and this is something that we can talk about later. I thank you for the opportunity for sharing, some knowledge and exchanging some ideas with such two brilliant people, and I hope I get a rain check for the future opportunities as well.
Definitely. Nikki.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been an honor. We didn't know each other, so it was a great opportunity to have this conversation with the both of you. Thanks, Derval, for referring me to you.
You got it, sis.
And I really enjoyed our conversation, and I think it's always relevant to discuss what goes on with the Black community around the world and get different points of view. So yeah, and I also look up to both of you as writers,
Nikki,
and when it comes to the English language. So yeah,
would you
totally.
mind me
Thanks for
giving
having me.
one suggestion? Nikki, would you
Oh,
mind?
go ahead.
Yeah, I think that brother Yusef is someone you should consider to take for a lecture, or a talk at Ebony English for the
I'm
students.
flattered.
Totally.
Some kind
Yes.
of yeah, think about it.
Well, let me show you something.
Totally. Yeah,
Interesting that you said
I'd
that.
love to have you. Yeah.
Or
Well, here's
something
the other
like
thing.
this with the students.
For the people watching, I totally did not solicit that. I did
Needless to say.
not.
That's needless to say.
But
You're
before
gonna love
we
it.
end,
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
I'll show you something interesting, because I do public speaking, and I've done some public speaking here in Brazil as well. And check this out. I don't know if you're familiar with the junior achievements they have in Brazil, and I did some public speaking for them, for the kids there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Look at you. Wow.
Yeah. So let's do this. As I wrap up, I want to say Casper, Information, Nicole, of course, Miss Buckner, who's the awesome cheerleader. Who am I forgetting? Jer, Sasir, everybody. I want to say thanks to everybody for making this such a lively conversation. This was a lot of fun for me. I'm looking forward to doing this again.
Yes.
Casper, the Black guy from Jersey. I'm going to do more of these. This is what I need everybody to do. Share this on your social media. Tell more people to click and subscribe. All right. And with that, I want to say, excuse me. Oh, Derval, you did share this, right? In your group, right?
Yes.
Cool.
Definitely.
All right.
Yeah.
Everybody, have a good night. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Bye,
Okay,
guys.
Bye bye.